pole position, and Stefano van Galen of Holland will join him on the front row. On row 2 from the United Kingdom, Josh White, and Josh White lines up with Slovakia's Patrick Pastorak. Row 3, Nuno Sousa of Portugal and Parker Thompson of Canada. Row 4 would have been Anthony Fotia, but he is a withdrawal from the meeting, from the event. So row 4 will just have Eugene Denason of South Africa lining up. Chris Dreispring of Germany and Giuliano Cucilillo of Switzerland complete row 5. Kazuto Kataka of Japan and James Golding are row 6. John Del Valle Tour of Spain and Guan Yu Zhou from the People's Republic of China are row 7. Joseph Burton Harris of Australia and Juan Manuel Correa of the USA are row 8. Maxi Hofer of Austria and Daniel Woodruff of Malaysia, row 9. And the top 20, well, it would have been Santino Ferrucci, but he is also a withdrawal from the event, and so Ferdinand Habsburg of Hungary will have row 10 to himself. Ryan Anderton and Pepijn Stayman, row 11. Daniel Salvador and Jay Nijar, row 12. Kasper Bileski and Thomas Salva of the Czech Republic, row 13. Eduardas Isa and Mateo Fernandez, row 14. Lucas Bashigalupo and Diego Naranjo are I was going to say South American row 15, but Chile is in South America, Mexico in Central America. Jan Jonk of Denmark, Fabrizio Famolaro of Venezuela, row 16, Matthias Naim of Lebanon, and Francois Quevedo of Mexico, row 17. Good to have a Lebanese drivers with us. Good luck, Matthias Naim. And the grid will be completed by a Colombian driver, Juan Manuel Jimenez. It will be a 7-lap race, scheduled away anytime soon. Well, once again, I'm Ken Walker doing the race call for you, trying to help you here on the circuit, and at the same time do the commentary for our friends tuned in online. So, Bruno Bolido of Portugal, a couple of race victories under his belt already, won the qualifying competition, starts on pole. Stefano van Galen of Holland, of the Netherlands, joining him on the front row. Josh White and Patrick Pastorak, row 2. Another Portuguese driver, Nuno Sousa, is on row 3 with Parker Thompson from Canada. Well, do we get a nice clean start? for our Friday race programme. This is round 3 of the heats. Every driver in the competition having their third and final race in the heats this morning or this early afternoon. We're racing and Bruno Bolido vigorously bumping his head down to try to beat any wind resistance. That's Josh White who's gone with him in second place. Stefano Van Galen had a good start from the outside of the front row, but got himself a little bit hung out to dry and is, well, having said that, maybe is not so far back, no further back than 4th place. Nuno Sousa, I think, has also got himself into a handy position, hearing that the start and the first turn are under review, but Bruno Bolido in the dark racing suit in kart number 117 is our early leader. Josh White in kart number 181 from Great Britain following him round on this opening lap. And there goes the move by the third place driver, Josh White and Nuno Sousa. I think that was trading places. But Bruno Bolido, who really did extremely well yesterday, twice he was overtaken in the lead and twice he came back having lost the lead to regain it. Well, this time he's kicked out about a 10-length lead right at the start in front of Josh White. Nuno Sousa in 3rd place, Stefano Van Galen 4th. Kazuto Kataka has gone through 5th and Pat Pastorak in 6th, when I think I'd credited Pat Pastorak with being possibly a little further up the field, although thinking about it, it was at that move at 0.6, wasn't it, where I think he would have lost those places. Well, Stefano Van Galen, Kazuto Kataka and Pat Pastorak in positions 4, 5 and 6. I'm being told that's been something of an all change. Oh, and one of them in 6th place, getting himself way offline at the tight hairpin. Somebody else has gone even more. 1, 2, 3, 4 drivers. Now, there is a wet patch. These drivers are going out on slick tyres because there is a dry line and most of the track is dry. But on the approach to the hairpin, on the return home straight or adjacent to the home straight, it's the toughest hairpin on the circuit anyway, and you go into it via a little puddle. So these guys on slicks got to be a little bit circumspect. Bruno Bolido leads from Josh White. Josh White possibly getting a little closer. Nuno Sousa in 3rd place, so Portugal 1 and 3 in this race at the moment. We're on lap 3. So, Josh White a little bit quicker than Bruno Bolido. Bolido's just done a 65.00, but Josh White's done a 64.62, and the evidence of our eyes is that Josh White, the driver from the United Kingdom, getting himself closer to the race leader. Well, again, I remind you that Bruno Bolido started on pole position in all of his races because he won the qualifying competition. He was previously passed for the lead, but each time he was passed, he came back and regained the lead. This is the end of the 3rd lap, the start of lap 4. And Bruno Bolido's been very clever there because Josh White was quicker, but Bruno closed the door, but he's not able to stop Josh White at the lower end of the circuit at turn 2, taking the lead. So we have a new race leader. This is Josh White of the United Kingdom, now leading from Bruno Bolido 2nd, Nuno Sousa of Portugal 3rd, Pat Pastorak 4th, and Kazuto Kataka 5th. Well, Stefano Van Galen, who started on the front row, went through in 8th place at the end of the 3rd lap, so he's just struggling away a little bit. Guan Yu Zhou from China running in 15th place, would hope to be further forward than that. Ryan Anderton in 23rd and Parker Thompson in 24th will both feel disappointed, and both of them will reckon them capable of better than that. Joseph Burton Harris of Australia in 32nd place. I don't think I've ever seen an Australian driver, or particularly Joseph Burton Harris in juniors this year, down in 32nd place. Well, we move into the second half of the race. In fact, we're well into the second half of the race because this is lap 5 that has just been started. So 2.5 laps remaining in this first race of the day. One of our drivers way detached at the back is Diego Naranjo of Mexico, so he's not there on lack of merit. There's obviously been an incident for KART 171 that's put him there, but he's 30 seconds behind the race leader. Incidentally, in mentioning 30 seconds, the fastest lap so far is 63 seconds, so the track pretty much, well, as I speak, I was going to say the track pretty much racing as it would in the complete dry conditions, but again, 3 drivers having got themselves in difficulty at the hairpin, at the adjacent to the start line in effect, the return home straight hairpin. It's a tough corner anyway, and you approach it through a puddle of water which is still there. Josh White increasing his lead. He's got 3/4 of a second on Bruno Bolido, and the second Portuguese driver, Nuno Souza, looking fairly comfortable in 3rd place, because Patrick Pastorak of Slovakia is, well, what? Getting on for a couple of seconds behind. Looking in distance terms, it's 60 meters. Something of that order. Well, Josh White looks over his shoulder. Everybody going into the hairpin that can go on the tight inside line, they're on the dry line and they can continue with their slicks in control of the karts. If you go a little bit wide and get the slicks into the water, it's a different matter. But as I'm looking specifically at that, only one driver went through the lake as it looked initially. And he did actually lose a place as a result. We're looking at our race leader, Josh White, coming round to complete lap 6. Driving standards flag being shown, so I'm not able to tell you who that is, but since that was lap 6, this is the start of the last lap. And Josh White is probably being caught by Bruno Bolido, but Bruno Bolido's got a lot to do in the last 3/4 of a lap. He's about 2.5 lengths down. Josh White calling the shots. Well, those of you tuned in online, you can see the time differentials there. He is getting closer, but the bad news for him is that we've only got half a lap remaining, and Josh White's got his positional sense pretty much worked out, and you would really think that Josh White will drive home as the winner from here. Starting the long climb now. This is a climb all the way up the circuit now. You're watching drivers in 2nd and 3rd place. Just to the right, there's our race leader. Coming home onto the home straight is going to be the race winner. There's the checkered flag. Josh White wins it. Bruno Bolido 2nd. Nuno Souza makes it 2 Portuguese drivers in the top 3. Patrick Pastorak was 4th. James Golding 5th. John Del Valle Tour 6th, Kazuto Kataka 7, Stefano Van Galen 8, Kasper Bileski 9, and Christopher Dreispring of Germany completed the top 10. Just outside the top 10, Guan Yu Zhou was 11th, Ferdinand Habsburg 12th, and a good drive by Jan Jonk, who had to start way at the back. In fact, just looking, Jan Jonk started in 31st place, drove up to 13th. A good drive by the Danish youngster. Well, confirmation of the victory for Josh White of the United Kingdom by 0.7 of a second over the first of the 2 Portuguese drivers, Bruno Bolido. Nuno Souza of Portugal 3rd, Pat Pastorak from Slovakia 4th, James Golding of Australia was 5th, Jan Del Valle Tour of Spain 6th, Kazuto Kataka Japan 7th, Stefano Van Galen of the Netherlands 8th, Kasper Bileski of Poland 9, and the top 10 completed by Chris Dreispring from Germany. Well, our next race is also for juniors, scheduled away in just over 5 minutes' time. It's for groups B and C. And Harry Webb from the United Kingdom, the Rotax Euro Challenge champion, will start on pole position. He'll line up with Thomas Preining of Austria. Thomas Preining, the guy who we always mention from the doorstep of the factory of Rotax. He's from Linz in Austria. Zach Clement de Melo of Canada is on row 2 with Raoul Hyman of the United Kingdom via South Africa. Samu Kulmala of Finland and Alvaro Otero Perez of Spain, row 3. Thomas Randall, Australia, and Berkay Besler of Turkey are row 4. Thomas Laurent of France and Janau Esmeyer of Netherlands complete the top 10 on row 5. Marino Sato of Japan and Tommy Lemaire Ouellette of Canada, row 6. Andrei Yatchenko of Russia and Brad Liebenberg of South Africa, row 7. Pedro Cardosa of Brazil and Ross Gunn of the United Kingdom, row 8. Oliver Askew, USA, Scott Manson, New Zealand, row 9. Row 10 sees another Canadian, Zach Scalzo, and a Dutchman, Lars Lamborel. Outside the top 20, on row 11, Gary Donnelly from Ireland, the Minimax champion in Ireland, so having to step up into juniors. Gary Donnelly, probably the youngest driver in the race, alongside one of the 2 girls in the competition, Jessica Backman from Sweden. Row 12, Sam Schippers of Holland and Khan Watier of Thailand. Row 13, Alessandro Trombelli of Italy and Thomas Issa from Jamaica. Well, I'm going to be completely neutral, but I am going to say hi to my friends in the Caribbean tuned in, and I think Mr. Issa is here, but Mum is back home in Jamaica. Mrs. Issa, your boy's doing well. Vid Pasiad of Slovenia is on row 14 with the second of the girls, Ashley Rogero from Naples, Florida in the USA. Ralph Aaron of Estonia is on row 15 and Syazwan Mohammed Noor of Malaysia completes the top 30 with Ralph Aaron on row 15. Florian Janitz, Austria, been a little bit unlucky to say the least, and Indian driver Chris Maraj Mahadik on row 16. Ricardo de Gumwa of Argentina and Felix Lintang of Indonesia, row 17. Sava Shaidag of Belarus and Ricardo Garcia of Spain, row 18. A 7-lap race for these juniors, scheduled away in just under 4 minutes. Hope you're enjoying yourselves here at Portimao. We've got the sunshine out, the rain stopped, but still a little bit breezy. Those of you tuned in online, you can see towards the top right of your screen that blue banner is in quite a blustery position, isn't it? Blustery mode. We have been introduced to the winds of southern Portugal this week, but it's nowhere near as severe as it was a couple of days ago. So hey, none of us complaining, we're glad to be here. So 2 minutes to go, guys. 2 minutes. 2 minutes to the guys and the two girls. So there's the green flag. The juniors roll out on their single formation lap before this 7-lap heat for groups B and C. Harry Webb on pole position, Thomas Preining, his front row partner. Front row competitor, front row opponent. Nice view there for those of you tuned in online for the hills just beyond the circuit, and in the middle of your picture, that is the road racing circuit that you saw briefly. This, of course, is the Kartodroma. The road racing circuit is the Autodroma, and there's a shot of it again online. Harry Webb is on pole position with Thomas Preining on the front row. Zach Clemendomelo and Raul Hyman, row 2. Samu Kulmala and Alvaro Otero, row 3. Here we go. Well, that wasn't a very level break, but I think it is a race, and Harry Webb in a clear lead from Zach Clemendomelo and Samu Kulmala in third place. We've got a spinner on the exit, or even the apex of turn 1, so he's lost a big opportunity, and Thomas Preining really quite slowly away from the outside of the front row. Just looking over at the far side of the circuit, he's not in the top 4, and so it hasn't been easy for those behind him, like Raul Hyman, Alvaro Otero either. That is Harry Webb in the lead, being hotly pursued by Zach Clemendomelo, and a move up into third place there. I think that's Thomas Randall of Australia gaining a place. Well, Harry Webb, when I said being pursued by Zach Clemendomelo, Harry Webb led his opening heat, and Zach Clemendomelo was the guy immediately behind him. And unfortunately the Canadian just touched the race leader, and they both went in effect out of the race, and Harry Webb just recovered to finish, I think, 30th. Well, he's having none of that now. He's kicked away for a lead of 0.7 of a second at the start of this one, And if we say 7/10 of a second isn't a lot and it's early in the race, yes, it's early in the race, but it's only a 7-lap race, and 7/10 of a second from pole, a handy little lead to have. Well, I just paused from looking at the circuit because I can see a beautiful rainbow here at Portimao, but just beyond it, less beautiful, heavy rain it seems. Oh, and two or two of our top running 5 have gone off the circuit at that notorious hairpin, and they're followed by some more, and it is a difficult hairpin at the best of times, and if you have to go through the water on these slicks, can't tell you who it was. I have my idea who that is. Of course, all of these karts are identical, all the Birel chassis, all of them absolutely identical, with some of the drivers in rainwear. I have struggled to identify them, not going to do any guessing. Let me tell you what we know for certain. Harry Webb, Zach Clement de Melo in second, Samu Kamala third, Alvaro Otero fourth, and Yanao Esmaia fifth. And it was indeed Thomas Preining in 9th place going through, who lost those places. And we also had one of the other guys that was an initial front runner, Raoul Hyman, dropping right back. Raoul Hyman, who started on the second row, I think was the guy that spun completely off the circuit, although he did rejoin. I think we've lost Lars Lamberel, the Dutchman, and the Indian driver, Chris Niraj Mahardik, went off at an early stage, didn't complete a lap, but Lars Lamberel has not come round, so one of our better Dutch drivers looks as if he went out on the second of these 7 laps. Harry Webb, though, established a lead of 1.8 seconds at the end of the second lap. Driving standards flag going out, but not to Harry Webb. And Harry Webb actually there choosing to drive through the water when he could have, with the lead he's got, could have made it easier for himself in terms of going in the dry. Behind him it's a heck of a battle. Zach Clement de Melo, Alvaro Otero Perez of Spain, he's the driver on the charge. As I don't think our television pictures can pick it up. Yes, you just see the thin hint of the rainbow, and that rainbow at the one point of that circuit looked as if the drivers drove through it. It's a tremendous race for second and third. Kart number 144, which is Samu Kolmala of Finland, is the guy who's in front of those two, and so that puts him in second place overall. He's a long way, he's over 2 seconds behind Harry Webb, but Samu Kolmala passing Alvaro Otero and Zach Clement de Melo. Good dice between these lads. Don't want to do any injustice to Harry Webb, but let's stay with that battle. Second and third have got themselves sorted a little bit, but fourth and fifth, that's Thomas Randall of Australia featuring. Yanao Esmaia also in the mix. Samu Kamala second, Thomas Randall third, Zach Clement de Melo fourth, Yanao Esmaia fifth, Berkay Besler of Turkey driving better than I've seen him race this year. He's driven in the Rotax Euro Challenge, and I don't think he's always given the best account of himself. He's going well here in 6th place. Alvaro Otero was the guy who missed out on the opportunities there, dropping to 7th, and Thomas Preining, the front row starter, running 8th now. Marino Sato 9th, and Bradley Liebenberg of South Africa completing the top 10. It's Oliver Askew of the USA just outside the top 10 in 11th place. For the girls, well, sorry I even mentioned it. They're in the bottom 4 with Ashley Rajero, a couple of places in front of Jessica Backman. Well, drivers in the paddock below me suddenly making a lot of movement, so I don't know if the rain has started again. This is lap 5, starting lap 6. These guys are all out on slicks. It is indeed raining now, so these guys have got another lap and one after that, and that rainbow gets even more vivid. We see the crowd on top of the cliff top. My good friend Dorothy Choker from Western Canada's up there with her friend Janet. Tells me it's a great vantage point. Dorothy, when you told me that last night, I thought, what a great view of a race. Right now that the wind and the rain is here, maybe I'm better sitting in my announcer's booth. Harry Webb going very circumspect, as well he might. In second place, Samu Kamala, well clear of third place Thomas Randall. Now, the guys like Harry Webb and Samu Kamala can pick their way carefully. Those that are racing hard behind what do? You don't want to race hard and take yourself away. You don't want to fail to race and let places go. I think there's still a dry enough line at the moment. The rainbow even more vivid, very dramatic. Pick out all of the colours. Harry Webb in a huge lead. Samu Kamala well clear in second place. Zach Clement de Melo third, but coming under pressure from Janau Esmeyer, and I think Janau Esmeyer went past. I'm looking down at the far end of the circuit, and well, from the body shape and the way that he's driving in the kart, I do believe that is Janau Esmeyer. So a good finish to this race for the Dutchman. Thomas Randall struggling a little bit. He's slipped down to 5th. Berkay Besler slipped to 7th. Marino Sato between them in 6th. Thomas Preining still 8th. Andrei Yatchenko of Russia 9th. And Oliver Askew of the United States has driven into the top 10 at number 10, past Bradley Liebenberg of South Africa, who is now 11th. This is the last lap. Well, the track looks dry, but certainly there's some rain coming down, but the guys are more or less at a racing pace. Here's the checkered flag. Harry Webb wins it by a huge margin. Second place, Samu Kamala of Finland, but that really good finish. Janau Esmeyer third, and Zach Clement de Melo and Thomas Randall just about side by side. Zach Clement de Melo gets 4th, Thomas Randall 5th, Marino Sato 6th, Thomas Preining gained a place on that lap to 7th, Andrei Yatchenko moved to 8th, Berkay Besler lost a place to 9th, and Bradley Liebenberg got his top 10 place back, and Oliver Askew dropped out of the top 10 to 12th. Alvaro Otero Perez of Spain, a front runner early on, down to 13th. And the next race, the senior race for Groups A and D, is declared a wet race. Declaration of a wet race. Well, very unfortunate for these lads. It's very much hurry around time. Once again, confirmation that there is an official declaration of this being a wet race. Officially declared a wet race. Well, those of you tuned in online, just look at those Rotax banners in the middle of your screen. Let me tell you that the rain has returned, and so has the very blustery wind. Very difficult conditions for these drivers. Those of you tuned in online, just look at those banners. They should be upright. They're at 45 degrees. Not very nice here at Portimao at the moment. You see the marshal in the bottom left of your screen? Well, they're doing a sterling job, but it can't be easy for them. Well, if you're tuned in online from, let's say, Australia, New Zealand, South Africa, United Arab Emirates, Bahrain, this is what it can look like in Europe at the end of November. And unfortunately, this is what it is like in Europe at the end of November. However, on my driver bios, there are one or two drivers who've said, hope it rains, love it in the rain, can't have it wet enough. There you go. Different people have different attitudes, different people going well. Those that are struggling a little bit with the weight, they can be cheering because the rain has come. I'm lucky, those of you online can see I'm in the dry. It's not that warm though, but there we go. Okay, let's have a look who these brave seniors are, because starting on pole position will be Piers Lehane, the unbeaten Piers Lehane of Australia. G'day to all my friends down under, especially my co-commentator Scotty Old. Joining Piers on the front row is Harrison Scott from England. Jordi van Moorsel, Netherlands, and Jesse Lazar, Canada, are row 2. João Correa of Portugal and Charlie Eastwood of Northern Ireland are row 3. Willem Jan de Loos of Netherlands, Pedro Paixão of Portugal, row 4. Peter Betzel of the Czech Republic and Avo Talver Estonia are on row 5. From the USA, Louis Pagano starts on row 6 alongside Portuguese driver Francisco Mora. Chad McIver from South Africa lines up with Moritz Oberheim of Germany on row 7. From Argentina, South America, Franco Crivelli is on row 8 alongside New Zealand's Daniel Kinsman. Claudio Pagliarani of Italy is on row 9 with Domen Harvat of Slovenia. Michael Kool of Belgium shares row 10 with Bryce Choker, who's from Chilliwack Track in Western Canada in the Greater Vancouver area. They complete the top 20. Yoshito Matsumoto of Japan and Niki Lar of Austria, row 11. Yuri Alves of Brazil and Alexander Zenkin of Russia, row 12. Alexis Araujo of Spain and Berry Torrenvliet, Netherlands, row 13. Juan Diego Alzate of Colombia is alongside Musashi Nakanishi of Japan. Abdullah Al-Rawahi of the United Arab Emirates is on row 15 with Andrew Palmer from the United States of America. Stephen Ballering from Spain via Netherlands, he's on row 16 with Nick Asri of Malaysia. Spoke to some of the Malaysians this morning. They were telling me it is rather warmer where they come from than it is here. Marcin Kapkowski of Poland and Teruhisa Tanaka of Japan are row 17, and the grid is completed on row 18 by Alexander Serenko of Russia and Rafael Blanco of Venezuela. Guys, can I tell you something? If you look up, there's a lot of blue sky. there's a lot of drivers who've not made the grid. I really don't like to see this. There's several drivers who have not made the grid, and it's not because they were late into the assembly area initially, and really this has spoilt the race before the race has started. Don't like to see this. Well, there's at least 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 drivers not making the grid. They're here on the assembly area, but they hadn't got through onto the starting grid when the gate closed. Well, my commiserations to those guys. We're going to have a very short-handed race here over 11 laps for groups A and D. Piers Lehane jumps into a lead, but are we racing? No, we're not. No, we're not. An aborted start. Well, we try again. 11-lap race for the seniors in groups A and D. Piers Lehane is on pole position and gets a good start, and Harrison Scott also going well from the outside of the front row, although the turn is going to lose him a couple of places. Jordi van Moorsel in second place, Joao Correa in third, but those of you tuned in online can see the spray that's being thrown up, so those of us looking with the naked eye here, not easy to identify who those guys are, but I believe that Piers Lehane, Jordi van Moorsel, Harrison Scott and Joao Correa were the first four. Piers Lehane leading up the hill. Mentioned previously how we have all identical carts, which doesn't help for recognition. And of course, when the guys have got their wet weather race gear on, when you've learned what the colours of the race suits are, makes it even harder. However, Jordi van Moorsel bidding to take the lead and taking the lead off Piers Lehane. Piers Lehane, who won his 2 races yesterday, started on pole position here, and now for the first time having to play a little catch-up. Although I think he had to go back in the lead yesterday in one of his races. Yes, he did. Jordi van Moorsel leads from Piers Lehane and Harrison Scott. In fact, Harrison Scott's losing a place to Jesse Lazar. Jesse Lazar of Canada going up to 3rd place at the expense of Harrison Scott. But I believe that Piers Lehane has recovered the lead, regained the lead. Well, the lead's still being traded. Gonna have to wait till they come round before we can tell you for sure. If you can see the numbers, Jordi van Moorsel is 275, Piers Lehane is 241, and it is Piers Lehane in the lead. It is Jordi van Moorsel in second place, and Jesse Lazar in third place, probably handling these conditions as well as anybody in the top 10 of these racing drivers. Piers Lehane, Jordi van Moorsel, Jesse Lazar are the 1, 2 and 3. This is only lap 2 of a slow 11-lap race. Jordi van Moorsel's quick time, 72.79. So the track is at least 11 seconds slower than we would have expected. Piers Lehane, Jordi van Moorsel, Jesse Lazar and Harrison Scott bidding to go back third, and I think he has. Yes, he has. And taking Charlie Eastwood with him, I think. Jesse Lazar back into, regaining a place. Joao Carrera dropped to 6th. Alexis Araujo has driven into the top 10. Just looking at those front starters, Berry Torrenfleet is up in 17th place. I was going to say he started way down the field in 26th place, but with a double figure number of non-starters, it's not quite so serious a situation if you're starting in the 20s, because probably you've got half a dozen at least people who would have been in front of you who are not in front of you. We've got 26 people running when 36 people were scheduled to start. So we had 10 non-starters because the gate closed before they were able to get on the grid, having changed their tyres at the declaration of the wet race. It's the rule, it was correctly applied. From my own point of view, for drivers who've come so far, drivers from Malaysia, drivers from Canada, driver from South Africa, driver from the United Arab Emirates, and even for those locally in Europe, big disappointment. Piers Lehane, Jesse Lazar and Jordi van Moorsel continue to be the 1, 2 and 3. Piers Lehane, of course, looking for a treble, looking to go through the heats unbeaten. Finishes in the top 3 is still going to secure pole position in tomorrow's pre-final. Actually pulling away a little bit from Jesse Lazar. Jordi van Moorsel a little bit closer to the big Canadian. When I say big Canadian, Jesse Lazar was racing juniors last year. Really quite big of stature for a guy in his mid-teens. But of course, when the wet weather comes, that can be an advantage rather than a disadvantage. The likes of Charlie Eastwood and Danny Formal, who've slimmed themselves down, trimmed themselves down to a better racing weight, their former bulk might have helped a little bit. Charlie Eastwood running in 6th place, Danny Formal not in this race, he's in the next one. While Piers Lehane's lead is 9/10 of a second, but on this wet surface, in reality, that's the equivalent of about 1.5. Jesse Lazar still second, Jordi van Moorsel, who led briefly, still third, quite close to Jesse Lazar, and once or twice I've thought that he was in a position to make a challenge, but our television pictures, which do exaggerate a little bit, the foreshortening, giving a more accurate picture on this occasion. Those of you tuned in online, hey look, blue sky and white cloud. It's going to be much better. Look how the marshals are dressed though. That tells you something. Piers Lehane, Jesse Lazar and Jordi van Moorsel remain the 1, 2 and 3. Behind those it's the Englishman Harrison Scott running 4th, Joao Carrera of Portugal hanging on in at 5th, Charlie Eastwood of Ireland 6th, Pedro Paixão of Portugal making it 2 drivers in the top 7 from the host nation. Arvo Talvar of Estonia 8th, Chad McIver, South Africa 9, and Alexis Araujo of Spain completing the top 10. We're on lap 6 of an 11-lap race, so we move into the second half of the race, 6 laps. We approach the second half of the race. 6 laps remaining to be raced, including the one that we're on. Well, Piers Lehane, you've really got to hand it to him because he started on pole position but was relegated That happened to him once yesterday and he regained the lead. Happened to him so far today and he's regained the lead. That doesn't make him a race winner, of course. Still got half the race distance to go. Lapping at 71 seconds as against the 61 seconds we've been lapping, so at least 10 seconds a lap slower. So these racers taking another 3 minutes at least to run. Those of you tuned in online, you're looking at our race leader, Piers Lehane. 17 years old yesterday, his birthday, celebrated with 2 starts and 2 wins. This morning, the day after, the morning after the night before, well, he's still leading. Well, one good thing about the weather conditions, the wind is still very strong, but it's also a drying wind. If the sun can come out, and the sun looks as if it's shining on part of the circuit, we could get a drier circuit. The Portimao Autodrome in shot on our television pictures to the right of the screen a few moments ago. Sun shining really quite significantly there. Most of the circuit here on the KART-DATA very wet, although a dry, not a dry, but a slightly less wet line is beginning to emerge. This is lap 7. And Piers Lehane, so far so good. Well, I hesitate to say too much about Piers. I don't want to throw the commentator's curse in, because these are the conditions that can really throw up shocks, can throw up misfortune. But you do have to admire the Aussie for the way in which he's handling these conditions, which is from Castle Hill in Australia. 17 years of age as of yesterday. Castle Hill, Australia. I'm not really sure where that is. I ought to know, feel a little bit guilty not being able to tell you which big city that is near. Can tell you that Piers Lehane has been on a podium in a Rotax Max Challenge Grand Finals before. A very, very good junior driver, and as I said in commentary yesterday, a measure of how good drivers are is often how do they make the transition from junior to senior. Well, Piers Lehane right up there with the best of them. Jesse Lazar still second, Stefano Van Galen still third, Charlie Eastwood, I didn't call in commentary when he moved up into 4th place, going past Harrison Scott. Harrison is 5th, Arvo Talvar 6th. Just looking elsewhere, Peter Betzel, who, well, as I said moments ago, it's really irrelevant to say where they started given the number of gaps there were on the grid. Peter Betzel started in 9th place and has fallen away to 16th. So Peter from the Czech Republic going to be disappointed. Michael Kuhl, the very experienced Belgian, is running last of the 24 drivers still running, because we lost Berry Torrenvliet of Netherlands on lap 4 and we lost Stephen Ballering of Spain on lap 3. So 24 drivers of the scheduled 36 to start this race continue to race, and they're racing in the sunshine. Those of you here at Portimao will see that at first glance it's a lovely day. Have a look at the tarmac, and it's difficult conditions for these racers. Piers Lehane, Jesse Lazar, Stefano Van Galen, well spread out. Can't really try to pretend to you that I ought to be doing a very highly vocal, high-octane commentary, because it is just a little bit of a procession at the moment at the front of this one. In fact, looking across the entire field, Piers Lehane only got about 12 kart lengths on Jesse Lazar. It's 3/4 of a second, but I can't really suggest to you that that Jesse Lazar is reeling him in. 4th and 3rd looks a good scrap, with Charlie Eastwood closing on Jordi Van Moorsel. In fact, Charlie has got him. Jill just calls to me. Charlie goes past. So, the driver from Northern Ireland in the nationalist community of Northern Ireland, racing for Ireland from Nuts Corner, eases himself past the Dutchman Jordi Van Moorsel. The only driver in Rotax Max Challenge Grand Finals to come first and second in the final. How did he do that? Well, he followed Martin Rump home in second place and was declared second. Martin Rump was then disqualified. Jordi van Moorsel was declared the champion. Many, many months later, after a civil court case, Martin Rump was reinstated. But hey, Jordi van Moorsel, a strong contender, whatever the conditions and whatever the racing circumstances. Jordi van Moorsel running fourth behind Charlie Eastwood third. Jesse Lazar getting closer to Piers Lehane about a lap ago, but the distance between them is about half as much again on this lap. So let's just look at the times. Piers Lehane has just done a 72.0, Jesse Lazar's done a 72.5. So Piers Lehane took half a second back from his closest pursuer, Jesse Lazar, on that previous lap, which was lap 10. We're on lap 11. Does seem to have been a slightly, what shall we say, slightly laborious race. I'm not criticising anybody at all. The drivers are driving in difficult conditions, but we've not been able to have any wheel-to-wheel true racing, and the passing moves have come from rather long and, well, I use the word laborious passing moves, but well done to everybody. Just looking across the field, there's no close dice anywhere. But the statistic that counts, who's out in front? It's the guy who's been out in front throughout these heats in the senior class. Will start the pre-final on pole position. The winner from Australia, it's Piers Lehane. Piers Lehane wins it. Jesse Lazar from Canada second. Charlie Eastwood from Ireland third. Jordi van Moorsel, Netherlands fourth. Avo Talvar, Estonia fifth. Pedro Paixão, Portugal 6th. Another Portuguese driver, João Correa, is 7th. Harrison Scott will be disappointed to have fallen down to 8th in that one. Chad McIver, South Africa 9th, and Alexander Zenkin of Russia completed the top 10 at number 10. We had 24 finishers. Well, confirmation of the result of that race. Piers Lehane goes through the heats unbeaten. The Australian won it by 1.4 seconds from Jesse Lazar of Canada. Ireland's Charlie Eastwood was third. Dutchman Jordi van Moorsel fourth. Avo Talvar of Estonia fifth. Pedro Paixão and João Correa were Portuguese guys, finishing 6th and 7th. Harrison Scott, Great Britain 8th. Chad McIver, South Africa 9, and Alexander Zenkin of Russia completed the top 10. Well, Groups B and C in senior will see Welshman James Singleton on pole position alongside the double French champion Alexandre Finkelstein. Alexandre Finkelstein was one of the guys who had the gate closed on him yesterday, so having missed one of his races by not getting onto the assembly area before the gate closed, he wants to do better than that this time, starting as he is on the front row. Ferenc Kankshar and Ukyo Sasahara, Ferenc from Hungary, Ukyo from Japan, but both of them having been based for a long time in Austria, are row 2. Phil DeLeo and Philip Morin, row 3. Ed Brand, Xavier Pazzoli, row 4. And the guys about to come round. Top 10 completed by Thomas Brinterson and Ollie Hodgson. Well, that didn't look a very open break, or very even break, but we are racing, and James Singleton leads from Ferenc Kankshar in second place, Phil DeLeo third, and I think that Alexandra Finkelstein, slowly away from the outside of the front row, was in fourth place on the exit from turn 2. Drivers going very, very circumspectly through that turn 2, and a couple of them well detached from the rest, making their way up the field. The lack of pace compared with the dry conditions is very much evident here. James Singleton holding this advantage from Ferenc Kankshar. Phil DeLeo coming under pressure a little bit in third place. On the opening lap for Groups B and C. Oh, and somebody way at the back has taken a 360 spin and gone onto the pebbles, and I doubt that they're going to recover from that. Getting out of the car, I can't see the number from there. It may well have been Alfredo Zavata, but can't be certain. So, at the start of lap 2, James Singleton, Ferenc Kankshar and Alex Finkelstein are the 1, 2 and 3. Alex Finkelstein under a lot of pressure though, a little bit detached from the front 2, whereas Ferenc Kankshar putting serious questions to the Welshman James Singleton. James Singleton from the United Kingdom. James Singleton comes from Conwy in North Wales, very beautiful part of the United Kingdom. But right now he's not thinking of Conway, he's thinking of the guy behind him. Kart number 281 is James Singleton, 279 is Ferenc Kankshar, and they're having a really good scrap at the back. 5th and 4th trading places there, I think. Ed Brand and Phil DeLeo, if I'm not mistaken. Well, starting the long drag, which is the climb from the lowest part of the circuit up towards the approach onto the home straight. As soon as they hit the home straight, which they'll do in just a moment, they're going downhill towards the start-finish line. And you can see that these two at the front are still battling it out clear of the others. Ferenc Kankshar having got past James Singleton. Alexandra Finkelstein coming under pressure and losing third place to Edward Brand. Edward Brand of England going past Alexandra Finkelstein of France. Oh, and I think Alex Finkelstein getting a little bit of contact from behind as well, so that's not helping the French cause. Well, Ferenc Kankshar just pulling away a little bit from James Singleton. Well, apologies for that short break in transmission, just having to throw a switch in a different direction. Ferenc Kankshar, who looked to me as if he was going to pull away from James Singleton. Actually, James Singleton, as you can see from our television pictures, those of you tuned in, not shaking off the challenge of the Welshman, and James Singleton closing up at turn 1, 2-3 kart lengths and bidding to retake the lead, and James Singleton does go past, and Ferenc Kankshar and James Singleton trade and retrade. So, James Singleton in cart number 281, Ferenc Kankshaw in cart 279 remain the 1 and 2, but their little passing moves has given chance for the likes of Ed Brand 3rd and Alex Finkelstein 4th to move up. Well, I promise you guys, I really am neutral in everything that I watch and commentate on, but I am going to say well done to Sean Babington coming into 5th place. Sean Babington, the British champion and the European champion, with 2 non-finishers and really no earthly chance of doing anything yesterday. This is his only race of the 3, but he's worked himself up to 5th. Philip Morin 6, Ukyo Sasahara 7. The likewise remarks to Joseph Mawson, not showing his true potential at all yesterday, but in the top 10 this time in 8th place. Oliver Hodgson 9th and Xavier Pozzoli 10. Just outside the top 10, Danny Formal, the USA champion. Looking a little bit further down, good showings from Daniel Rochford up at 13th. Shane Daly running 14th, Senanor 15th. Phil DeLeo's going to be disappointed to be running in 18th place, having started on the inside of row 3. This is lap 5 of 11. Our race leaders, James Singleton and Ferenc Kankshaw, still having this good battle between themselves. Heading round to the infield hairpin, where there's a bit of a dry line. And that's about the halfway point round the lap, so it means 5.5 laps have gone, 5.5 to go, which means we're at the half race distance in this senior heat for groups B and C. Climbing up the hill, and it looks as if they're climbing slowly. Fastest lap is 72 seconds. It's 10 seconds a lap slower in these conditions on the wet tyres. Just looking down below ever so briefly at the DD2s, they're all going to go out on wet tyres, it would seem. James Singleton's lead over Ferenc Kankshaw is half a second. Ed Brand's lead on Philip Morin is down to 0 because Philip Morin goes 3rd. Philip Morin of Sweden goes into 3rd place at the expense of Edward Brand of England, who drops down to 4th. Ed Brand holding on to Philip Morin though, not letting the Swedish lad get away. Edward Brand a little bit more experienced at this level, but not able to stop Philip Morin taking that place. Now, Ferenc Kankshaw looking closer again to James Singleton, and Edward Brand definitely posting a threat to Philip Morin's 3rd place. James Singleton's lead, as I look out of the window, is 3/4 of a length between them, and somebody else goes off at the Bermuda Triangle. One of our mid towards the rear of the grid drivers, so not one of our front runners. This is coming round to the start of lap 7. James Singleton, his lead over Ferenc Kankshaw is 147 of a second, when it was half a second this time on the previous lap, or at this place on the previous lap. So James Singleton being reeled in by Ferenc Kankshaw. Philip Morin still holds 3rd place, but Edward Brand strongly challenging for the regain of the 3rd place, which he held up until a lap and a half ago. Ukyo Sasahara, ever the battler, in 5th place, but a little bit of a gap between himself and 4th place Ed Brand. And Ukyo Ukyo taking a very, very short cut there and gaining ground as a result, but Sean Babington putting a real challenge on Ukyo Sasahara. Sean Babington, who was 5th, has obviously lost that 5th place to Ukyo Sasahara, but fighting to get it back. But as I look down now, 3rd, 4th, 5th and 6th, instead of being in 2 groups of 2, are in 1 group of 4. But at the front, James Singleton and Ferenc Kankshaw continue their personal battle. 261 is James Singleton, and he leads by 0.3 of a second. But Ferenc Kankshaw is closing, and Ferenc Kankshaw bidding to take the lead, and he does take the lead. Ferenc Kankshaw retakes the lead. Ferenc Kankshaw goes into 1st place, and Edward Brand goes back into 3rd place. Philip Morin down to 4. So, as I read it now, Ferenc Kankshaw 1, James Singleton 2, Edward Brand 3, Philip Morin 4, Ukyo Sasahara 5, and Sean Babington 6. In fact, Sean Babington, 215 in 6th place, Sean Babington 6. That was an accurate call, so I'll breathe a sigh of relief. At least the sun's out now and we can just identify a little bit better. So this is lap 8 of this 11-lap race. It's not the fastest race you've ever seen, but it is a fascinating one. The leaders changed hands 4 times. James Singleton, Ferenc Kankshaw, James Singleton, Ferenc Kankshaw, as another driver slides off at the infield hairpin. Ferenc Kankshaw looks over his shoulder, wipes his visor, and as he takes his hand off the wheel, James Singleton getting a lot closer, and Philip Morin trying to gain a place on, well, now that looks like Ed Brand having got past Ukyo Sasahara, Philip Morin having then gone to challenge both of them. Still very tight at the front as well. Well, there's a kart length and a half between Ferenc Kankshaw and James Singleton, with the Welshman kart number 261 now doing the chasing, but I reckon there's still mileage in this race. We're on lap 9, so only 2 to go after this one, 2.5 laps altogether. But you wouldn't want to call the first 6 places in the correct order as from here. They're well spread out on the circuit, but we've had plenty of good dicers. Ferenc Kankshaw and James Singleton. Is there going to be another change for the lead? Coming round to start lap 10, which will be the penultimate lap. Well, Ferenc Kankshaw actually had a little bit of a margin there. I have to tell you that when I called Edward Brand in 3rd place, I just had a sinking feeling that I'd got it wrong. It was Ukyo Sasahara 3rd, Philip Morin 4th, Sean Babington 5th, and Ed Brand 6th. Behind them, Ollie Hodgson 7th, Alex Finkelstein, who started on the front row, having had a non-start yesterday when he was denied entry to the grid because the Parc Fermé gate had closed. He's running 8th, fellow Frenchman Xavier Pozzoli is 9th, and United States champion Daniel Formal completes the top 10. Once again, I'm going to say hi to my good friend in Three Rivers in the USA, Gary Lobar. Gary, thanks for your email, and I'm glad that you've tuned in to us. Sorry that you've got that trapped nerve. It is a shame. We would have liked to have seen you here. On the other hand, Gary, you wouldn't enjoy the European November weather quite so much, but it can get a little bit cold up in Michigan as well. James Singleton back in front. James Singleton starts the last lap with a margin of 0.3 of a second. And having had a look at the screen there, really I've not done the right thing in taking my eyes off the tarmac, so let's stay with these guys. James Singleton back in the lead. It's been a really good tactical battle between the Welshman and the Hungarian. James Singleton, the narrow advantage over Ferenc Kankshaw of Hungary. Ukyo Sasahara well clear in 3rd place. He shouldn't lose 3rd place from there in kart number 281. But a good battle behind him. Philip Morin, Sean Babington, Ed Brand and Ollie Hodgson in there, I think. But again, let me have the discipline to stay with the front 2. James Singleton going the short way round, clipping the curb. Slight piece of drifting from Ferenc Kankshaw, maybe lost him inches, but inches when they would have been valuable, because this is the final turn. You're looking at James Singleton, the Welshman coming through and taking the checkered flag. James Singleton wins it. Ferenc Kankshaw is in 2nd place. 3rd is Ukyo Sasahara. 4th is Philip Morin. 5th is Edward Brand, 6th is Oliver Hodgson, 7th is Sean Babington in his only finish of the 3, Alexander Finkelstein is 8th in his 2nd finish of the 3, Shane Daly of Ireland, his best finish 9th, and the American champion Danny Formal completing the top 10. Well, our replay showing you just how difficult it was to get the vision on that one at the start. Really spray absolutely everywhere. James Singleton, after a really good race-long battle with Ferenc Kankshar, coming home first. Ferenc from Hungary in second place. Ukyo Sasahara, based in Austria but originally from Japan, in third place. Philip Morin of Sweden fourth. And then three Brits. Ed Brand was fifth, Ollie Hodgson sixth, Sean Babington seventh, the French champion Alexandra Finkelstein was eighth, Shane Daly of Ireland ninth, and Danny Formal, the American champion, completing the top 10. Henry Martin of Argentina is on pole position, and South African's Cristiano Magado joins him on the front row for this 11-lap race for groups A and D in DD2 Masters. Here we go. And Cristiano Magado a lot faster from the outside of the front row. The green flag is showing. That didn't look an even break, but I don't think Cristiano Magado had done anything wrong. We know that the Recticel barrier is looking very second-hand. Kart number 417, Stuart Clark of Canada, having careered into the barriers virtually before the race started, or at the start, certainly before he'd crossed the start line. Somebody else on the other side of the track. They've both got going, but both of them all half a lap behind. Kart number 4 3.9 is Cristiano Magado in second place. Kart number 436, Henry Martin in front of him. Hamish Leighton I can see there. Just lacking a bit of conviction on my opening three drivers, having had my attention diverted by that rather heavy collision with the Recticel barrier. Cristiano Magado, I think, has just taken the lead. Yes, he has. So Cristiano Magado, twice a Rotax champion, as the rain comes down very heavily and they're driving into a gale. The gale and the rain as they start lap 2. Cristiano Magado being pursued by Igor Mukin, because Igor Mukin, oh, I was going to say making an attempt to pass Chris Magado, but contact there. Magado staying on the circuit and Mukin having to back off a little bit. Henry Martin in third place, Hamish Leighton fourth, David Griffiths fifth, and I think there was a move there. Did that involve Guillaume Berthaud? Dennis Kroos, I think, making progress. But Cristiano Magado, the Masters champion of last year, defending his title, and he was also the senior champion in 2003. So Cristiano Magado, one of 4 double Rotax champions, and at the moment leading this one. In fact, he's pulled away a little bit from Igor Mukin, with Henry Martin in third place. Does look very slow when they climb the hill, and these wet tyres. The lap previously was 73.9, very nearly. In fact, Chris Magado 73, everybody else 74 or slower. So it is a slow race compared with the dry times, and Cristiano Magado increases his lead significantly, and Igor Mukin coming under pressure from pole sitter Henry Martin, and Henry Martin of Argentina in third place, looking very much a potential threat to move back into second place. Hamish Leighton, Australia 4, Dennis Kroos 5, David Griffiths 6, Guillaume Berthaud 7, Alan Rudolph 8, Michael Jones, another American 9, and Thomas Schumacher completing the top 10. Cristiano Magado, who has this exaggerated leaning, the inclination in the kart and the head carriage. Oh, and Henry Martin lost a lot of speed on the exit from the infield hairpin there, and whereas he had been putting pressure on Igor Mukin, that's definitely relieved the pressure on the Russian quite significantly, at least for the next lap and a half, I would have thought. Chris Magado climbing the hill, 15 lengths clear of the pursuing Russian, coming round to complete the third lap. Sets off on lap 4 now, the margin 1.5 seconds. Just a little bit exaggerated at 1.5 seconds, given that it's a wet track rather than dry. Looking at it, you might have thought it was 1.2, 1.1 seconds, but 1.5 on this slower paced wet race. Just looking at one of the detached drivers, seeing if he will come into contention soon. No, he won't. He's a long, long way away. Cristiano Magado leads, Igor Mukin in second place, third place Henry Martin. Now Dennis Kroos, who has raced in all rounds of the Rotax Euro Challenge, is a noted wet weather driver, a former champion at this level, a Rotax Masters champion. This is the rain that he would crave, and he's moving upfield in fourth place. Hamish Leighton of Australia 5, David Griffiths, the occasional driver from Great Britain, doing remarkably well at this level, given that he's not a regular racer in international competition. David Griffiths running 6, Guillaume Berthaud 7. Can't tell you any changes of position on that lap, for the very good reason that there aren't any. What I can tell you is that there's a huge gap between David Griffiths 5th and then, no, it was Hamish Leighton 6 and Alan Rudolph. Alan Rudolph 6, 7. Guillaume Berthaud, the Frenchman, has split the Americans, because the Americans, Alan Rudolph running 7th and Mike Jones from the Dallas Karting Center running 9. A big hi to all my friends in the United States. Thomas Schumacher continuing to hold his place in the top 10 at number 10. Carlos Medina of Mexico going well in 11th place. Just looking down the field on the timing screen, Stuart Clark, Canada in 20th place. He's going to be disappointed with that. The former Canadian champion, the Canadian who is the former champion, Luke Soriol, out of the top 20 in 23rd place, but Dennis Kroos moving up to 3rd place at the expense of the Argentinian pole sitter Henry Martin. So it's now Cristiano Magado 1, Igor Mukin 2, and the guy who loves it in the rain, Dennis Kroos 3. The conditions here, for those of you tuned in online, well, I don't really need to tell you, do I? Just look at that sky, look at the surface, look in particular at how the marshals are dressed. Marshals done a wonderful, wonderful job this week, and they've done this job in the face of a personal tragedy, because one of the marshals who started with us at the beginning of the week, Sergi Duarte, tragically lost his life in a fishing incident earlier in the week, and the marshals very upset, asking for a minute's silence, which was very respectfully observed. So the marshals doing a cracking job in not the happiest of conditions and not the greatest of weather conditions either. Cristiano Magado in the second half of the race, his lead up to 3.7 seconds. Just trying to look on screen where I can give you the best of the action. That's a good little scrap I'm watching there, but not really sure which of those drivers they are. Very hard to identify numbers. Those of you with big screens and high definition, you may be able to tell me the numbers. As they come over, it was the battle for second and third, Dennis Kroos and Igor Mukin, and well done to Andreas Holzheimer, who got that battle for second and third, and your commentator not quite able to pick up on it. So Dennis Kroos into second place over Igor Mukin, and David Griffiths goes from 5th to 4th over Henry Martin. So on lap 7, Cristiano Magado has a big lead over Dennis Kroos, Igor Mukin 3rd, David Griffiths 4th, Henry Martin 5th. Let me give you the nationalities, it's very representative. South Africa 1, Netherlands 2, Russia 3, United Kingdom 4, Argentina 5, Australia 6, that's Hamish Layton, USA 7, that's Alan Rudolph, Germany 8th, that's Thomas Schumacher, Michael Jones of USA 9th, and Guillaume Berthaud of France in 10th place. So the top 8 positions occupied by drivers from 8 different nations. The first nation to have 2 guys in the top 10, that's USA, with Alan Rudolph running 7th and Michael Jones running 9th. Guillaume Berthaud of France completes the top 10. Moritz Nopies from the United Arab Emirates, who is in his 6th World Final, is in 11th place. A good drive by the driver from Dubai. Moritz Nopies, originally from the Netherlands, went out to Dubai, lives in Dubai, works in Dubai, and therefore representing the United Arab Emirates now. This is lap 8 in the really difficult conditions, difficult for drivers, not easy for spectators, not even easy for PC spectators. Those of you that have tuned in online, thank you for doing so. Thank you for your interest. Sorry we're not bringing you rather more, what shall we say, bright and colourful images. But bright and colourful is not happening here at Portimao at the moment, I promise you. Dennis Kroos is giving us a good race though, isn't he? Here is the Dutchman. Oh, and you saw Dennis get a little bit of a 4-wheel slide there in front of Igor Mukin. Chris Magado is way in front of these guys, 4.5 seconds to the good. But Dennis Kroos we're looking at here, raced in the first ever, well, he happened to race in the first ever Rotax Euro Challenge because he's raced in them all. At the time, his girlfriend of the time, Marjolein Ansems, was the first of our lady racers in the Rotax Euro Challenge. Dennis Kroos in shot, Cristiano Magado in shot from Durban in South Africa. His father Rui was born in Mozambique, but Cristiano Magado, Rui Magado, does that tell you anything when you look at the language? Portuguese background. Rui Magado and Cristiano Magado of Portuguese background, and of course Mozambique, a former Portuguese colony, but both of them currently living now in Durban, South Africa. Cristiano Magado in shot. Dennis Kroos from the Netherlands, Igor Mukin from Russia. Igor Mukin, incidentally, a very improved driver as we start the 10th lap, or at least as Chris Magado does. Igor Mukin was a regular in the the Western European scene a couple of seasons ago, but was well to the back of the grid initially. But hey, he's got better and better and better, as several of these Russian drivers have. Igor Mukin running third in this one. David Griffiths fourth, Henry Martin fifth. Hamish Leighton, Australia 6th, Alan Rudolph, USA 7th, Thomas Schumacher up from 10th to 8th for Germany, Mike Jones of USA still 9th, and Moritz Nopjes of the United Arab Emirates from Dubai into the top 10, and that's at the expense of Guillaume Berthaud, the Frenchman. Guillaume is running 11th, just in front of another Frenchman, Morgan Hipp. Morgan Hipp and Charlie Hipp, racing in this particular class, are cousins. Well, kart 447 just going through there, I think, was one of our back markers, Johan Rodriguez of Venezuela. That was in 26th place, but he's just in front of Bill Lester of the USA, Masala Obara of Japan. We lost Antonis Peros of Cyprus on the 4th lap, and we lost Robert Kastelic. Is from, I think, let me see, one of the it's Slovenia. I knew it was Slovakia or Slovenia. It's Slovenia. He went out on the 2nd lap. Climbing up the hill. Those pictures on screen give you an indication of the climb, don't they? This is an undulating circuit, and right now we're doing some climbing up, or at least Cristiano Magado, who's in shot. You see the spray there through that difficult hairpin, difficult at the best of times, and my heroes here, those marshals, doing a fabulous job in horrible conditions and with the personal tragedy that they've had thrust upon them this week. So Cristiano Magado's lead was 4.2 seconds at the end of 10 laps. Just trying to pick him up on circuit. I think that he's coming round towards the final lap. Yes, he is. There's the checkered flag. Cristiano Magado wins it. Number 1, he says, and number 1 he is. Waiting for Dennis Kroos. There's Dennis Kroos round in 2nd place. 3rd, it's Igor Mukin. 4th is David Griffiths. 5th is Henry Martin. 6th is Hamish Leighton. 7th is Alan Rudolph, I think. Yes, it is. Alan Rudolph finishing in front of Thomas Schumacher 8th, Michael Jones 9th, and Moritz Nopjes 10th. Florent Lambert from the United Kingdom is on pole position, and Guy Pansart from France joins him on the front row. Scott Campbell of Canada and Martin Pearce of Ireland are row 2. Fernando Guzzi and Miko Salo, row 3. And Florent Lambert, very slowly away from pole position and getting a clout from behind. So Guy Pansart is the early leader from Martin Pearce. Martin Pearce bidding to go second, and Florent Lambert unfortunately not getting the advantage that he would have been entitled to look for, starting from pole position, slowly away and getting a bit of a tap behind, which I think came from Scott Campbell, albeit inadvertently. So Flo Lambert losing out to the outside front row man Guy Pansart at the start. Guy Pansart is kart number 443. He's got a rather nice bright race suit, so we can recognise him. Martin Pearce in second place has a blue race suit. We can recognise him. Scotty Campbell, I think, is past Flo Lambert still. Flo Lambert, if not, is the guy in third place, but that's definitely Guy Pansart of France, pulling away a little bit from Martin Pearce. This is the 13th Rotax Max Challenge Grand Finals, and Martin Pearce was on the podium in the second one in the year 2001, a former champion. It was Scott Campbell in third place, as originally called. It's Charlie Hip leading the chasing pack in fourth, but the front three pulling away a little bit. But Martin Pearce now getting a bit closer to Guy Pansart, and in fairness, Scott Campbell getting a bit closer to Martin Pearce. So the good start in this one by Guy Pansart got him a bit of breathing room, but he's definitely got a challenge on now. Well, having said that, all of a sudden that really close space between them has become a little bit wider, and Martin Pearce having to think a little bit more about the challenge from Scott Campbell. Well, in saying to you that Martin Pearce was in the 2001 Grand Finals and on the podium, let's mention Scott Campbell. This is his 9th Grand Finals. Nobody has been in more Grand Finals than Scott Campbell, and a former champion. One of 8 former champions, and there are 11 former championships in this particular category. Guy Pansart holding this advantage over Martin Pearce. Scott Campbell still third. Mikko Sala, no, not that Mikko Sala, this Mikko Sala in fourth place. Goose, we've not called Goose's name, he's just gone past Charlie Hip. Gonzalo Gaivo, the airline pilot, in fifth place. Charlie Hip dropping to sixth. Yet another former champion, Jesus Perez Santander, is running seventh. Harry Salmonen, the second Finnish driver, after Mikko Sala, he's running eighth. Santiago Guerrero of Colombia, ninth. And yet another world champion, Chris Adams, in 10th place. Just behind Chris Adams in kart 458 in 11th place. Nicky Irwin of New Zealand running in the all-hand operated machine. Nicky doesn't have the use of his legs. He's running in 11th place of these 32 drivers at the moment. Well, Guy Pansart, as you can see on screen for those of you tuned in online, coming under a close examination by Martin Pearce. Martin Pearce in kart 488. Became a daddy a few weeks ago, and Martin Pearce bidding to take the lead, and Guy Pansart is able to resist the challenge. Martin Pearce though didn't lose a place in making the challenge, and he didn't lose much ground, and he still looks very, very threatening. And Martin Pearce does go in front. Martin Pearce takes the lead. This is lap 4 of 11, and Martin Pearce, the Irishman, takes the lead. If his father's listening, Dave Pearce, a former world champion in stock car racing, that's the British and European form of stock car racing, not the USA form. Dave Pearce, the father of Martin Pearce, and both father and son world champions. Right now, it's Martin Pearce leading the race on lap 4 of 11. Guy Pansart second, Scott Campbell still third. Some good scraps behind, aren't they? Just having a look now at the dice behind the ones that we were calling. Guy Pansart under pressure from Scott Campbell. Guy Pansart in the most colourful of the race suits here. The worst of the weather of 25 minutes ago has gone. Let's just have a look again at the start of this one. An uneven break, and Florent Lambert from pole position losing all of the advantage. Guy Pansart, the colourful driver to the left of your screen, getting well away. But, oh, and a little bit of contact there. Let's just have a quick peep again at that. That was Flo Lambert, was it? No, it wasn't. It was... can't identify from there. But Florent Lambert's just gone through in 13th place at the end of lap 4. And that little piece of touching affected 3 drivers, didn't it? A 360 spin on the track caused everybody to have to move out. What does that tell us? It tells us that these are very difficult driving conditions, even for drivers as good as these. Martin Pearce still leads, and Guy Pansart is still second, but coming under serious examination by Scott Campbell, the former champion from Canada. But Scott Campbell very slowly in the approach to the turn at the end of the penultimate turn. He's going to lose a place as a result of it, because Mikko Sala goes past. Well, Scott Campbell, who looked as if he was about to go past Guy Pansart for second place, fell away and has actually lost that third place to Mikko Sala of Finland. Gonzalo Galvao now 5th. Christoph Adams, I think, was 10th when I last looked at the timing screen. He's 6th now. Good drive by the Belgian. Raced actually in the Rotax Euro Challenge this year on a French licence. Harry Salmonen, the second Finn in the top 7. Charlie Hip, the second Frenchman in the top 8. Jesus Perez Santander of Spain dropping a place to 9. And Nicky Irwin in that all-hand operated kart 458 gets into the top 10 at number 10. Florent Lambert, the pole sitter, moving up a place from 13th to 12th. Santiago Guerrero, the loser in the last couple of laps, he's dropped right down to 29th place. And Fernando Guzzi of Brazil, who started on the third row, on the inside of the third row. He only went through in 30th place on the 5th lap. This is the start of lap 7. Martin Pearce's advantage over Guy Pansart is significant, 1.87. And once again, I can't say a dry line is emerging, but a drier line is emerging, and Martin Pearce, with nobody in front of him and nobody for about 25-30 meters behind him, in fact it's 40-50 meters behind him, can pick his place carefully. Coming to the really tricky part of the circuit, the infield hairpin, Martin Pearce going the short way round, climbing over the rumble strip, climbing over the curb. Guy Pansart doing the opposite, taking a big wide steady sweep to keep the pace on. Mikko Sala in third place, having punished that mistake by Scott Campbell. And the drivers all climbing up the grade now, climbing up the hill, trying to get themselves the advantage of a good run onto the home straight, because then it's immediately downhill as you get onto the home straight. Martin Pearce sets off on lap 8. Guy Pansart second, Mika Salo third, Scott Campbell fourth, Gonzalo Gaibo fifth, Chris Adams sixth, Harry Salminen 7, Charlie hit 8, Jesus Perez Santander 9, and Florent Lambert into the top 10 at number 10. René Martinelli has gained a place, he's up to 11th place for the Americans. Nicky Irwin of New Zealand dropped a place to 12th, and another American, John Crow, climbing, he's up into 13th place. John van Wyk of South Africa, 15th, I think, has dropped a place. Well, just looking down the timing screen a little bit further, Jerry Hargitay, the multi-Hungarian champion, 4th in the final in this class last year. A great drive by Jerry, because he hadn't been doing a lot of international racing in that season, hasn't been doing so much this season. Involved in the organisation of the Central and Eastern European Championship, his brother Sandor even more so. Jerry Hargitay running 25th, and we've got to move because Chris Adams has gone from 6th to 5th. Christoph Adams has moved past Gonzalo Gaivao into 5th place as we start lap 9. Christoph Adams, who has raced more Rotax Euro Challenge races than anybody else by virtue of the fact that 1, he goes to virtually all of the events, and 2, for many years, several seasons, about 6 seasons, he doubled up in DD2 and in Masters, when Masters was the single speed max class. Well, Chris Adams hasn't had the best of preliminaries in this event, but he's coming good when it counts. This is the last of the heats, determining start positions in tomorrow's pre-final, tomorrow morning. Martin Pearce's lead is over 2 seconds, 2.18, very nearly 2.2 seconds. Guy Pansart well placed in third place, half a second clear of Mika Sala. Mika Sala and Scott Campbell having a decent dice. There you see the relative positions, nicely captured by our television pictures there. Nicely captured by the television images. Upon the cliff top there, that was absolutely packed with spectators yesterday. You couldn't move. Right now, there's places for the taking. Although we do have some cars up the top, and a lot of people doing spectating, sitting in the front of the cars. Why not? Those of you online to the middle right of your screen, that was the Autodromo, where we have the top flight motorbike races, World Superbikes and I think MotoGP. Well, Guy Pansart is the driver in the most colourful race suit, still in second place, going through the notorious hairpin. The driver out in front here is Martin Pearce from Ireland, his lovely wife Elizabeth here, and his little boy. I asked Martin and Elizabeth, is he going to be a racer? And Elizabeth said no, and Martin said more like a front row lock forward for the Irish rugby team. He's not very old, but he's a big lad. Mika Sala in third place, Chris Adams up to fourth. Scott Campbell will be disappointed to have lost that place to Chris Adams, as Martin Pearce sets off again in front of Guy Pansart. Mika Salo still third, Chris Adams getting a little bit closer, and Miko Sala getting closer to Guy Pansar, but every time I've looked at that and thought we've got a potential pass here, it hasn't happened. But in fourth place, Chris Adams looking highly likely to gain another place. I'd like to look at the timing screen, but I'm dead really. The fastest on the circuit is Chris Adams, 72.2. So the fastest driver is the driver in fourth place, who's climbed up from sixth place in the last 3 laps. Guy Pansar just holding off Miko Sala. Christoph Adams, a little bit frustrating for me as they go out of my sight. Picking them up again. That's still Miko Sala in third and still Chris Adams in fourth. Still Scott Campbell fifth, and the Goose, Gonçalo Gaibo, behind him, Portuguese driver. So, Martin Pearce on the home straight, there's the checkered flag. The race winner for Ireland is Martin Pearce. Coming home in second place for France, it's Guy Pansar. Third is Mika Salo. Fourth, a good drive by the Belgian Chris Adams. Fifth is Scott Campbell of Canada. Sixth is Gonçalo Gaibao of Portugal. Seventh is Harry Salminen of Finland. Eighth is Florent Lambert, UK. Ninth is Charlie Hipp of France. And it was René Martinelli of the USA who completed the top 10. Another American just outside the top 10 was John Crow in 11th place. That's Ben Cooper on the right of your screen in the off-pole position. That's Zenderuva on the left of your screen on pole. An 11-lap race for Groups A and D in DD2. And Ben Cooper is well clear of Zenderuva at the line, but Zenderuva has raced through almost as if Ben Cooper had scrubbed some speed off. So Zenderuva 1, Ben Cooper 2, Nicholas Latifi, I think that is in third place as they move away from us. There's a restart being called for, which explains why Ben Cooper scrubbed the speed off. Zenderuva and Ben Cooper are the front row. Nicholas Latifi and Enrique Baptista are row 2. Kevin Ludi and Konstantin Skalko row 3. Tiago Ribeiro, Kyle Ensby row 4. Lucas Orrick and Brian Stafuza completing the top 10 on row 5. We try again. That looks a lot better, but again Ben Cooper's outgunned Zenderuva at the start, and that looks like Enrique Baptista in second place. So my read of that is Ben Cooper 1, Enrique Baptista 2, Zenderuva 3, and Nicholas Latifi 4, I think. So, twice in succession, one on an aborted start, one on an, what shall we say, a legitimate start, a permitted start. Ben Cooper on the outside of the front row, outgunning the poleman Zenderuva. Ben Cooper, a double Rotax champion in kart number 319, used to race with a Union flag on his helmet denoting a British driver, now of course a Canadian. Ben Cooper leading, Enrique Baptista making that good start for Portugal. Somebody just coming up at nearly walking pace, half a lap behind. I think that might have been 3:42, which is Lucas Orrick, which if it was, that would be very, very disappointing, because Lucas would potentially be, in fact I'm not sure I've read that number right, don't think it was 3:42. Coming round to complete the lap, Ben Cooper's lead is 30 lengths. Enrique Baptista still in second place, Zenderuva in third, but Zenderuva is a fair way behind Enrique Baptista, but Kyle Ensby of Australia and Leon de Vischer of Netherlands in fifth place, a lot closer to Zenderuva. Zenderuva, Belgian, who had a really good day yesterday. Well, since I called how close they were to him in third place, he's pulled well clear of them. Kart number 321, Zenderuva, I was going to say having to mix it a bit with the guys behind him, but he's pulled well clear. Still got a gap between himself and Enrique Baptista, something like about 3/4 of a second, and Enrique Baptista himself is 1¼ seconds behind Ben Cooper. So a big lead for Ben Cooper. Enrique Baptista a reasonable lead over Zenderuva. Zenderuva a pretty good lead over what is then a really good race. Kyle Ensby of Australia battling it with Leon de Vischer of Netherlands. Andre Huber in the mix. Cooper, Baptista, Deruva, 1, 2, 3, but then side by side, and that looks like Leon de Vischer of Netherlands going past Kyle Ensby of Australia from 5th to 4th. Kevin Ludi, winner yesterday. Coming through in 6th place, Nicholas Latifi in 7th. Andre Huber dropped place to 8th. Sandro Lukovic 9th. Akito Saito of Japan completing the top 10. And just outside the top 10, Tiago Ribeiro from Portugal, albeit born on the magical Atlantic island of Madeira. But nevertheless, that makes him Portuguese. And a big error there by our 3rd place driver was that. No, it wasn't Zenderuba. It was our 4th place driver, Kyle Ensby. So Kyle Ensby and Leon de Vischer, who had that really close battle. In fact, looking at him, that may have been the Dutchman. And again, that very much trap for the unwary. The 180-degree hairpin, more or less just opposite the straight line. But a very, very difficult piece of driving. Caught people out in the Mojo Cup 3 weeks ago, catching people out here. Ben Cooper leads in kart 319 by 50 yards, maybe 60. The time, 3¼ seconds. But yeah, 60, 70 yards even. And Enrique Baptista a long way in front of Zenderuba. That's the Spirit Racing Swiss driver Kevin Ludi, I think, in 4th place. Just watching them emerge. Ben Cooper going very, very slowly round that hairpin. It must be a real challenge. And had this been a much closer race, Ben might have been subject to a challenge there. But hey, if you build yourself 3¼ seconds cushion, you can take the tough turns, the awkward turns, a little bit more circumspect, and that's what Ben Cooper's doing. Knows what he's doing, twice a champion at this level, also a European winner in the Rotax Euro Challenge, British winner in karts from the age of, at least 10 years, from the age of about 11. Started off in 4 strokes at Buckmore Park. Zenderuba 3rd, Kevin Ludi 4th, Leon de Vischer 5th, Kyle Ensby 6th, Nicholas Latifi 7th, Andre Huber 8th, Sandro Lukovic 9th, Tiago Ribeiro 10th, just outside the top 10, the Australian Jason Pringle. Just looking a little bit further down, Thomas Holland running 17th, had a nasty crash collision with Matthias de Tige a couple of days ago, but Thomas Holland having his best place in a race so far, 17th, the occasional driver. I'm going to mention again the man from Lebanon, Michael Azar, running 21st. It's not very high up, but the Lebanese drivers don't get much international competition and would expect to be towards the middle and back of the grid. Good drive by Michael Azar in 21st place. The lady in the race, well, she's out of the top 20, but she's going better than she did in the 2 previous heats yesterday. Christina Vaughan in kart 359 is running in 24th place. And when I identified the guy who was detached at the back earlier on in my commentary, it was Lucas Orrick, because he's down in 28th place. Well, Ben Cooper's lead is a handsome one indeed now, 5 3/4 seconds, 5.78 seconds. Guys, how about this for a statistic? Ben Cooper is not just leading, but he has lapped in a time of full second quicker than anybody else. 1 minute 11.5. He's just done 1 minute 11.8. And Enrique Baptista in second place has done 1 minute 12.8. So basically Ben Cooper is lapping this circuit a full second quicker than everybody and 1+ quicker than those in the lower order of the top 10. Ben Cooper's fastest lap 1 minute 11.5. Enrique Baptista's fastest lap 1 minute 12.8. We're on lap 6. So we move into the second half of the race as these very contradictory weather conditions continue. It's not raining, but there is a tail end of a rainbow, but it is drying, and the sharp wind is the reason for the drying nature of the track rather than any hot sun. Those of you tuned in online, sorry that it looks a little bit dismal and uncolourful. The reason for that is it's a bit dismal and uncolourful here. Ben Cooper continues to dominate. 337 just going over was Freddie Lewan in 32nd and last place. Freddie Lewan is 37 seconds behind our race leader, Ben Cooper. This is lap 7 of an 11 lap heat 3 for the drivers in Group A and D in DD2 Open. Very, very considerable reservoir of talent here, and Ben Cooper can say yes, and it's led by me, double champion. So Ben Cooper sets off on lap 8, and it's a long time we have to wait until the second place driver goes through. There is Enrique Baptista. Zenderuva goes through 3rd, Kevin Ludi 4th, Nick Latifi 5th, Andre Huber 6th, Leon de Vissa 7th, Sandro Lukovic 8th, Sebastian Bertram 9th, Jason Pringle 10, and Jason Pringle now the top Australian in this one because Kyle Ensby has dropped out of the top 10 to 11th place, and Tiago Ribeiro from Madeira, the Portuguese island of Madeira, has dropped from 11th to 12th. Christina Vaundren of the United States having her best race of the 3 heats. She's up from 23rd to 22nd, but she was touching the 30s in the previous heat, so it is an improvement for the lady from USA. One of only 3 girls in the 277 drivers racing in this entire competition. Sorry to see only 3 ladies. Well, Ben Cooper sets off again on his lonely way. Really is a margin and a half, 7.5 seconds. And in terms of distance, I would call that about 120 meters. And that's not 120 meters and 7.5 seconds on a on a fast dry track. It's on a rather slippery wet track. Good little dice I'm looking out the window at now. One of the drivers with his number detached a little bit. That'll be outside of the top 10 in the upper reaches of the 10 to 20 places. If when they come round again I can identify it, try to do so. Kyle Ensby still outside of the top 10. Tiago Ribeiro drops another place to 13th. So the driver from Madeira just getting a little bit of a slide on late in the race. Ben Cooper coming up onto the start-finish line. For the 9th time he will see that there are 2 laps to go, 2 to go. And that shot on television there shows the huge lead that Ben Cooper has. We're following him round online, why not? But while we follow him online, we won't see many more drivers. Ben Cooper taking it very carefully through these tight turns. See how he's going the short way round, just going over the curb, using the curve. The son of a national hot rod champion in England, Ben Cooper Senior. His mum Sharon is here, his nan is also here, and of course his Canadian colleagues, his girlfriend, and those who were instrumental in his move to Canada, Michelle Boisclair. Driver just going through the hairpin, getting himself a little bit out of shape. I think may have been Nick Latifi, but can't be sure. Well, sorry if this isn't my usual loud, bouncy, high-octane commentary, but how do you commentate a race where the leader is leading by 8 seconds? One way is to ignore him, but we really can't do that. But of course behind him, there's not very many close dices either. There is Ben Cooper once again setting off on his last lap. And as I said this time 1 lap ago, if we stay with him, we won't see too many more drivers, but we will see this careful driving style of Ben Cooper. Again, just clipping the curve, taking the short route round, going through the lower hairpin, starts one of the climbs on the circuit. Coming up now to the trap for the unwary. Let's see how Ben deals with it. Well, again, going on the short way, moving out, and he can see the driver in second place, Enrique Baptista, but he can see that he's well over 100 yards clear. Ben Cooper now at the bottom end of the circuit, and you can see how, from our television pictures, how this is quite a climb now to the to the home straight, which is then downhill to the start-finish line. Ben Cooper continuing to climb up the grades, sweeping round right-handed. For the 11th time of 11, there's the checkered flag, and your race winner is Ben Cooper. Ben Cooper wins it. It's a long 8-second lead to 8 seconds wait to the second place driver Enrique Baptista, and coming home in third place, good effort by Zenderuva, closing the gap a little bit on Enrique Baptista. So Ben Cooper 1, Enrique Baptista 2, Zenderuva 3, Kevin Ludi 4, Nicholas Latifi 5, Andre Hubert 6, Leon de Visser the Dutchman 7, Sebastian Bertrand the Frenchman 8, Sandro Lukovic has represented Slovenia, now representing Bosnia-Herzegovina in 9th place, and Jason Pringle of Australia completing the top 10. Ben Cooper, the dominating driver there, winning by 8.7 seconds. Simon Wagner of Austria is on pole position and is joined by Sean Slavin of Scotland. Cody Hodgson, USA, is on row 2 with the Frenchman Antoine Lepécoeur, Harold Skokaklis of Latvia and Joey Wimsett of the USA on row 3. An 11-lap race for the DD2s in groups B and C. That will close our qualifying heat program. So this, the final race of the qualifying heats in the Rotax Max Challenge Grand Finals 2012 here at Portimao. Simon Wagner of Austria is on pole position. Sean Slavin of Scotland joins him on the front row. Oh, and that's not a very even break, and I do think we are racing, but we've had a good rumble and somebody's hit the recticel very hard. The green flag is waving, so it is a start. And, well, we had one of our workers hospitalised when the kart struck the recticel earlier in the event yesterday. Hopefully nobody was in the firing line there. I don't think they were, but that caught my attention, and I'm not in a position to tell you who's leading other than it was Simon Wagner from Cody Hodgson when I first looked. That is Simon Wagner. Cody Hodgson. Harold Skokaklis is up there for sure. Harold Skokaklis, and I thought I saw Antoine Lepécoeur. No. Antoine Lepécoeur is back outside of the top 10. Not sure what happened to Sean Slavin's start. It was a very, very un-Sean Slavin type start from the outside of the front row. We've got fairly vigorously waved yellow flags, although as I speak that yellow flag is put away. We've got a couple of drivers who are over half a lap behind, so the early issues in this one being sorted. There's your race leader, starting lap 2, Simon Wagner 1, Cody Hodgson 2. It was Joey Wimsett in third place, not Harold Skokaklis. Apologies for that call. In fact, Joey has already gone second against the fellow American Cody Hodgson. Cody Hodgson, who races NASCAR. And this is early days, but it's the best American duo at the moment. Joey Wimsett in second place, Cody Hodgson in third place. Cody Hodgson from California, if I'm not mistaken. Joey Wimsett working in Oregon, living and working with Mr. Chris Egger, or working with Mr. Chris Egger, not living with him. Lisa, his wife, is living with him. Martins Papins and Harold Skokaklis are the Latvian drivers in 4th and 5th place. Mika Laiho, the European champion, or the Rotax Euro Challenge champion, is running in 6th place, and it's Sean Slavin, the front row driver, down in 7th at the moment. So, setting off on lap 3, Simon Wagner from Joey Wimsett, Cody Hodgson 3rd, Martins Lapins. Sorry, it isn't Cody Hodgson again. I do apologise. Martins Lapins of Latvia has split those two Americans. Again, if I've got any defence, it would be that they've got those outer wet weather race suits. That's not really an excuse. When I look at the timing screen, I should try to keep half an eye on the track, and the half an eye might have picked up Martins Lappins going into third place at the expense of Cody Hodgson. In fact, Martins Lappins now getting a real threat to Joey Wimsett. Martins Lappins of Latvia. We see a replay of the start here. You'll see that the spray isn't nearly as bad as it was. Oh my, that crash towards the back of the field was pretty heavy duty, wasn't it? Let's have a look again. Well, we're not in a position to look again, but it wasn't the worst of the spray that we saw at the start, but my, there was a problem in terms of a little bit of contact. These are the race leaders coming by, which is Simon Wagner of Austria, still in the lead from Joey Wimsett. Martins Lappins, who got close to Joey Wimsett moments ago, has just lost a little bit of place now. Fourth and fifth, that's Harold Skokaklis and Cody Hodgson. Are they retrading places? No, I think the Latvian has got the advantage over the American. Harold Skokaklis is KART 370, Cody Hodgson is KART 329. They are fourth and fifth. And again, yellow flags waved, as a car was very vulnerable on the exit from turn one, but he's actually just cruised to the side of the track and will not now be in a position of danger, although the driver looking a bit disconcerted. Simon Wagner, our race leader. Joey Wimsett and Martins Lappins disputing this second place. Simon Wagner coming up to the final turn, just off your screen at the moment. There he is in shot to the right of your screen, coming onto the home straightaway. Driving standards flags being shown, not in a position to tell you the number. Joey Wimsett in second place, now coming under a little bit more of an examination by Harold Skokaklis. Harold Skokaklis in third place, the very tall Latvian guy. Joey Wimsett from United States, not nearly so tall as Harold, but both of them trailing Simon Wagner. In fact, Simon Wagner, the Austrian, has just pulled away a little bit, hasn't he? Simon Wagner getting a little bit further away. May well be that Joey Wimsett in second place is having to drive something of a defensive drive. Having a look on screen now, you're seeing the battle for first, second and third to the left of your screen. Simon Wagner in first place, driving for M-Tech Praga Racing, and it's Praga chassis that are being used for the youngsters racing. The ones coming out next, the Micromax youngsters of Spain and Portugal. So, starting lap 6, heading towards the half-race distance, and those of you here at Portimao will know, those of you tuned in online, let me tell you that the threatening weather is closing in again, very, very dull. Looks as if we're in for some more rain, and that rain could be quite vigorous, not to say vicious. We have had some nasty rain this morning, the wind is still strong, and from the direction where the wind is coming, a very, very dull, threatening sky. Those of you tuned in online, you can see a little bit of the screen at the top, the dark clouds. Well, there's the perfect example of what we're talking about. It does look threatening, doesn't it? The marshals, my absolute admiration for these heroes, the marshals. They've done a superb job in difficult conditions and in emotional conditions as well. Our race leader is still Simon Wagner, but Martins Lappins, has he got the better of Harold Skokaklis? Let's have a look as they come over the line. Over Joey Wimsett. Yes, indeed, Martins Lappins did get past Joey Wimsett. My thanks to Jill for prompting me that when I was looking at the weather conditions. Martins Lappins of Latvia going past the United States driver Joey Wimsett. Harold Skokaklis in fourth place. Cody Hodgson fifth. So let me give you that top 5 call again. Simon Wagner 1, Martins Lappins 2, Joey Wimsett 3, Harold Skokaklis 4th, making it 2 Latvians in the top 4, Cody Hodgson 5, making it 2 Americans in the top 5. Matthias de Tige, Belgium 6, Sean Slavin, Scotland 7, Jari Huutonen of Finland 8, Zach Richard Robichon of Canada 9th, and Roy Bakker of the Netherlands 10. Just outside the top 10, another Dutchman, Tom Dielissen. Well, we're into the second half of the race because the race leaders are past the halfway point on lap 7, coming round towards the end of the lap. 4 laps to go when they cross the start-finish line, as the leader does. Simon Wagner's advantage, 9/10 of a second, although if you look at the distance it looks more than that, but that's because they're not going so quick. 72 seconds a lap when these guys were doing 59 seconds a lap in the dry. So 13 seconds a lap slower than when these guys were racing in the dry conditions. Well, the rain just beginning to get a little bit stronger, and the wind is really very heavy, so the last 3.5 laps for these guys is not going to be in very good conditions. Those of you at Portimao here will not need me to tell you that. Those of you tuned in online, look at the cloud, look at the cloud cover, and just see how dull it is. And with a little bit of rain and a lot of wind, this isn't an easy case of racing your opponent. Just trying to see if there was a change of position there as I was speaking. Certainly Simon Wagner continues to lead, but well pursued by Martins Lappings, coming round now, dips his head. Let's stay with these front two. Simon Wagner's had it relatively easy. Not going to see much of the track now because the rain on the window is taking that view away, but fortunately we've not got too much rain on the camera lenses. Let's try to work it from there for you. This is lap 9, so 2.5 laps remaining in these testing conditions at Portimao. Well, the immediate challenge by Martins Lappins has been resisted by Simon Wagner. Simon Wagner going the short way round the infield hairpin, moving away from me, a little bit out of sight, coming back in sight. That is Simon Wagner still holding the advantage over Martins Lappins, and Martins Lappins, I was going to say, has not been as close to Simon Wagner as he was when I first suggested a challenge might be on the cards, but Simon Wagner didn't get too quickly away from the long drag hairpin, but then neither did Martins Lappins. So here we go again, another lap. This is lap 10. We start lap 10, 2 to go, 2 to go. And Simon Wagner of Austria leads. Martins Lappins of Latvia second. Joey Wimsett of the United States of America is third. That position still remains. Those positions still remain. Well now, Harold's Gokaklis, no he isn't, he's well detached, that was a misread. Thought that Harold's Gokaklis in 4th place was getting closer to Joey Wimsett. No he is not, no he isn't. The only real race of note in this one is the battle for 1st and 2nd, and Simon Wagner in kart 360 holding off the challenge of 366 Martins Lappins. 1.5 laps to go. We're climbing up the hill, up the long drag from the lowest part of the circuit to the highest part of the circuit. In screen to your right hand side is Simon Wagner, the race leader, sweeping onto the home straightaway, seeing that there's 1 lap remaining, 1 to go, 1 to go, and Martins Lappins getting a real good charge on here. Martins Lappins getting closer. Simon Wagner has got less than a kart length between himself and the chasing Latvian. Still the Austrian holding the advantage, going round one of those lower hairpins, then beginning the midfield climb, turning left to approach the difficult hairpin which has given so many problems to so many drivers, and Simon Wagner getting out of that hairpin a little bit better than Martin's lap-ins, and so Martin's not quite as close as he was. The tightest hairpin on the circuit at the bottom part of the track, climbing up the hill. You can get the sense of the undulation as the rains come down really heavily now. But Simon Wagner, one right turn to make. He makes that right turn, he's on the home straight, the checkered flag is out, and Simon Wagner of Austria wins it. A good chase into second place by Martin's lap-ins. Joey Wimsett third, Harold Scott Cacklis fourth, Jari Huttunen fifth, Cody Hodgson sixth, Matthias Detige seventh, Sean Slavin eighth, Zach Richard Robichon 9, and Roy Backer the Dutchman completing the top 10. Well, confirmation of our race result of the final heat in the qualifying competition. These were the DD2 drivers in groups B and C. Simon Wagner of Austria won it by 7/10 of a second by 7/10 of a second from Martin's lap-ins of Latvia. Joey Wimsett, USA, third. Harold Scott Cacklis made it 2 Latvians in the top 4 in fourth. Jari Huttunen of Finland, fifth. Cody Hodgson made it 2 Americans in the top 6. He was in 6th place. Matthias Detige, Belgium, 7. Sean Slavin of Scotland, 8. Zach Richard Robichon of Canada, 9. And Roy Backer completed the top 10 for the Netherlands. Tom Dealison, 11. Mika Laiho, 12. Eduardo Leitao, 13. Antoine Lepecoeur, 14. Pierre-Luc Ouellet, 15. Oliver George, 16. Troy Woolston, 17. Fritz Leesman, 18. Ricardo Leitao, 19. And the new daddy from South Africa, Nicholas Verheul, completing the top 20. Losing him. That's off, isn't it? Down is off.